Welcome back to another thrilling and bone-chilling episode of Do Ghosts Be Real, featuring myself, Spencer, Simon, and Brett. The thing about it is McDonald! This week we are looking into the Pennhurst Asylum, which is located in, where are we at?
Well, I'm an idiot and I forgot to print my notes for this one, but I know it's in Pennsylvania.
It's in Spring City,
Pennsylvania. That's it. At least one of us is prepared.
Yeah, this is a particularly dark episode. So there are a lot of things about this that are not so humorous. This is a place that a lot of really brutal tragedy took place, and it is just a very heavy location altogether.
Did you guys make it to preservepennhurst.org?
No.
It gave me a different perspective on it. We'll talk about it later.
For sure.
I definitely went into this expecting it to be extremely dark, and it was.
Yeah.
But I think there is some light in there. There's a few things that maybe aren't as dark as others. Obviously, some dark stuff happened, and we'll talk about it. But also, some good things came out of this.
Fantastic, man.
So that was something that sort of lifted my spirits, because looking into this, I watched a lot of some dark stuff, read some dark stuff.
It's not cheery.
And it was nice to have a little bit of good come out of it.
Absolutely.
So we'll talk about it.
When you're talking about a facility that has a documentary come out called "Suffer the Little Children," you're looking at some very brutal.
I don't think the best PR firm could spin that one in a positive light at all.
Yeah, when NBC does an expose on you know what? It's no good.
Before we get too deep, I know we have some announcements.
Absolutely.
So let's hit up those announcements. Get that out of the way right off the hop.
Yeah, let's do that.
This is a crazy one. We're very, very excited to announce this. We're probably going to drop it in right away here. Anyway, Jonah J Bais, our boy, good pal, friend of the cast,
extremely talented,
man of science, man of the pen. He's the absolute king of just artwork altogether. I've always known Jonah as an incredible artist, and we commissioned him to do, I guess, our album artwork.
Yeah, that would be what we would call it. Yeah.
And he absolutely crushed it.
Dude, it's so good.
It couldn't be better.
Perfect. Yeah.
Like, we're going to probably drop it in overlaid over us at some point here. Just take a peek at this thing. Yeah. For the video, for the watchers on Shaw and for the people who are watching on YouTube, just look at the textures on the beards and the hats, man. Look at how close our faces is. It's bonkers.
It's so good.
Yeah. Like, I mean, when Spencer showed it to me, I was having a nice little couch nap, and he just woke me up, and he's like, dude, and just put the phone in my face, and I'm like, holy fuck.
Yeah, this is
perfect.
Incredible. Jonah fucking killed it. We want to say a big thanks to Jonah, and we want to make sure that we're shouting out his socials here. He's Jonah J Bais, all lowercase, all one word on Instagram. I know he's probably a busy boy and he's into all kinds of stuff, but if you need some artwork or anything like that, consider hitting him up. Supremely reasonable pricing, and like a dude who can do any style. Just an absolute savant. Like,
just
he is
a maverick.
Incredible.
At any artwork he does, he just nails it.
Maybe not a savant,
time.
Like a phenom.
He's really good. I've seen Jonah's work in the past, and I knew that it was going to be cool, but I was legitimately blown away.
Oh yeah,
it was so cool.
I was expecting it. I knew it was going to be good, but I didn't realize just
how good it was going to be,
just how much he's going to nail it.
He knocked my socks straight into the stratosphere.
Yeah. It was a good one.
Very pleasantly surprised. So I feel like our podcast is a little more credible now. We have an actual like album art cover.
Yeah, that's right. It's not just our beautiful faces anymore.
So, for the folks that aren't obviously on a video platform, it probably by the time you listen to this will be the album artwork. I mean, I hope so. Anyway, if it's still our three ugly mugs, check back later.
Yeah, but if you're listen to this on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or something, you can probably
not Apple Podcasts, still not Apple Podcasts. But hey, someday when you're gonna listen to this, someday somebody might be listening to this on Apple Podcasts.
Which,
so
you know what?
If it is if this is the future, then just disregard all previous comments.
Yeah,
I'm gonna get on that. I'm gonna fix it.
But also come back in time and give me a future electric car, please.
That would be cool. Yeah, Simon's big into the future electric cars.
I am.
But this isn't the Tesla hour, so we'll continue choggling forward. We also want to just make note of hey, check us out on Shaw. We're on Channel 10 in Saskatoon. We're on at I think 10 o'clock, 10 p.m. after
10
strip
PM.
down.
Yep.
Pretty awesome. We're very excited about that.
Yeah, super excited. We kind of poked some fun at Shaw last episode, but seriously, we are so thankful to be here.
Oh yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, this is really
cool. That
cool.
was all out of love. We're very excited for the credibility, and thank you to the absolute gorgeous man, and king of the, I'm going to call him king of the castle, Eric Steiner, for that.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for reaching out to us. And
we very much appreciate
Thank
that.
you, Eric. We appreciate it. Thank you for having us on your platform.
We bow down to our handsome overlords.
Yes.
That's Shaw Spotlight.
Exactly.
So there's that, and then also just we want to say thank you to good old Andrew Tamman, our boy again at Atlas Painting. Don't have his phone number with me this time. Which I don't know why I'm saying that, but hey, Google him on. Put him into the Google box. Check out his painting company. He's one hell of a painter. Yeah, exceptional.
Andrew's pretty great.
He is, but he gave us another haunted book. Very cool.
Oh, he did.
Very thick, and I did. I put it right there. Real ghosts, restless spirits, and haunted places. It's like a textbook. Can you see that down there?
Oh shit!
It's down there.
Wow. Look at that. We're gonna have to show that to the camera at some point.
We sure are.
Yeah, everyone knows it's the girth that's important, and that one is girthy.
That is a girthy book.
That is a girthy book.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't reach it without creating an absolute catastrophe.
Maybe we'll show it. We'll show it off next time.
I really didn't plan this, but also big thanks to Kira, who did a bunch of research for us again. Thank you so much.
Thank
you. We very much appreciate
Thanks
that.
for propping up our dumbasses with all of your exceptional research. Yep. Once again, straight out of the park.
Couldn't do without you.
Yeah, for sure. We very much appreciate it. It means a lot to us that people are willing to reach out.
And just to be clear, you don't have to do this, but we love you for it.
Yes,
so thank you.
We very much appreciate it.
We absolutely do. And hey, if you want to keep doing it, we'll never say no. We very much appreciate it.
You don't have to twist my arm very hard.
No, we love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
No, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was going to say, this is super random, but I never thought that I would see this in my life. I've seen this referenced in places. So we don't have the logo because we're not sure if that's cool, but we are drinking some genuine Faygo Cola here today, which Spencer got for us. And I was so surprised when you pulled that out. I was like, I've never seen that before ever, and now I get to drink it. The Juggalo special.
I can safely say this podcast is in fact down with the clown.
We won't mention the name by group, but they're the neurodivergent circus comedian, birthday party comedian consortium. I think that's what
they
the rap
also
group is
wrestle.
Called. I guess you could call it you could also just say the insane clown posse.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
It's very funny. We're enjoying some nice Faygo Cola.
We are enjoying some Faygo
and
Cola.
We're going to talk about some very, very, very sad stuff today.
So, all goofiness aside, let's get back into Pennhurst, baby.
Yeah, for sure.
You guys want to start this off?
Absolutely.
So how do we want to start this? Do we want to start going into the history first, or do we want to kind of...
I mean, I guess we should probably preface this by saying that science has been messy in the past.
Yeah, absolutely.
Big time.
And, some dark stuff has been done in the name of science. And I think we should also say that despite the horrors that happened in this institution, the people who built it did have the best of intentions.
Yes. It's just at the time that was the science.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
And there was also a lot of racism. There was a lot of people who were sent here and their only crime was being not white in America.
Yeah.
And obviously,
which is very, very sad.
Horrific.
Yeah, absolutely. And
lots of people sent here for ridiculous reasons. This was a period in time for mental health treatment where... we're also for women's rights and stuff like that. I think, when was the facility? It was commissioned in
1903.
1903, and when was it opened?
1908.
1908. So at this period, women's rights hadn't really progressed along a whole heck of a lot. So
if you were not a white man in America, you were probably not having a good time.
Absolutely, and let's just say you're a pretty crusty old white man with a wife who's maybe has what they would have called at the time hysteria. Yeah. Maybe he's not particularly pleased with her for some reason. They're going to take his word over anything she has to say. So it could be potentially he's a guy is unhappy with his wife, and they might put her in a place like this.
Yeah.
And she has absolutely nothing wrong with
just based on the history alone, its original name was the Eastern Pennsylvania State Institution for the Feebly Minded and Epileptic.
Yes.
So the feeble-minded and epileptic.
Yeah. So you can already tell that the science wasn't exactly there.
It wasn't there.
That's not what we say now.
And like I said, they started off with the best intentions. We were talking about people who did not deserve to be sent there. That happened later in the facility's life.
Yes, for sure.
It started off as a treatment center for people who legitimately needed it, but the understanding wasn't there, and people didn't know what was going on with these mental illnesses. and with physical disabilities. And a lot of people were sent there who needed specialized care, and they didn't get it. They were just put in this massive institution. And how many people was this built to hold? Remember correctly, it was like
it was meant to hold like 500 people.
Yeah, I think it was like 5 to
No,
900.
it was built to hold no less than 500.
Yeah, I think it was 5 to 900.
They had beds. Actually, they had beds for 3,350 patients.
Right,
Okay.
but if I remember correctly, it was designed to hold maximum like 2,000 something.
Maybe,
and
yeah.
eventually, when they were under pressure to admit more people, they just stacked more beds
Right.
in the existing rooms.
Those beds, also that metric, that number is from 1950. So we're
Okay.
a long
That's a
period
long
into
way.
its history at this
Yeah.
point. And like around 1950, things had already things had gone pretty tough by that point.
Yeah, in the 1930s is when they actually started building a wing for female patients.
Right. Okay.
So
Separate wing.
it wasn't till that time that they started doing that.
Yeah,
So-
because I know they had right at the beginning, they had the men's dining room and the women's dining room, and they had the men's and women's cottages.
Maybe they just expanded
But I think
further or
they
something.
I think they did build additional treatment centers just for women. Yeah.
I think at its peak, the total area of the campus, like square footage wise, was 636,454 square feet.
It's a big campus.
That's probably. I mean, I'm no genius. I'm no math man. I'm assuming that's some outdoor spaces as well. But huge campus. All kinds of buildings for all kinds of different things.
Yeah, it was the whole campus was thousands of acres.
Yeah,
At the,
it wasn't a small place, that's
no,
for sure.
it was big. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like we talked about, I think any place that has severe trauma in it will have some residual feelings there, some perhaps some hauntings. And this one has a reputation for being extremely haunted.
Yes.
This is known as like one of the most haunted facilities in America.
In America, yeah.
Yeah.
And today there is I don't want to say haunted house. They kind of turn it into
It's
an
kind of a
attraction.
haunted
it's kind
house,
of like a
I would
haunted
say.
house.
Yes
Yeah.
and no. There's two aspects to it. They do the ghost tours and stuff now,
Yep.
but they are trying to preserve it as a historical site.
Which is good. Now, from what I understand, the haunted house is actually in the administration building.
And I think the haunted house is actually being used to fund the preservation
Oh, that's
of
good.
the facility. So a lot of people have taken pretty high level offense and just opposition to this being used as a haunted attraction. And I know that there's actually there's all kinds of stuff about the haunted attraction. People have worked in that for a very long time. Like there is a person, I think Tamara Lawrence, she wrote The Ghost of the Mayflower, which is a building on the Pennhurst campus.
Sure.
And it's called The Ghost of the Mayflower, a Pennhurst Haunting. She's written 3 books about it. The most recent one, I think, is a sequel to that book. Came out in 2021. So it's like she's still putting out
It's
books.
fresh.
But
Right, wow.
people have taken like great opposition to this being used as a haunted attraction because obviously this is a place of great tragedy, but also there is a second part of it. You know, if a city or a municipality isn't going to step in and preserve their history, there needs to be a way to fund that. So despite the fact that this might seem like kind of a disrespectful way to do it, and I'm not even entirely of the mindset that it isn't, but at the very least what they've said, because I think it's a private company that owns it.
It is.
What they've said at the very least is that they are using the money to fund the restoration and preservation of the site. So hopefully
good.
they're being truthful about that.
That's good. I hope so.
Yeah.
I know, like you said, a lot of people have said that that's probably not the best thing to use this
Yeah.
site for. At least they're not using the actual buildings where all this stuff was done. It's just the administration building where the haunted attraction
I don't
is.
think that's not true either. Actually,
Oh, really?
Like there are dorms and all kinds of stuff like that throughout all of it because specifically like a lot of the buildings. I think the building that has been so widely ghost hunted is that Mayflower building.
Okay.
And that Mayflower building does have administration in the front of it, but there
Right.
are dormitories and stuff like that. And like there are,
okay.
I mean, without getting too deep into the names of various notable ghosts from there, a lot of the notable ghosts that have been mentioned they are found in that facility because I think it's one of the
Yeah.
better preserved
Well,
buildings on the campus.
And not to mention, underneath the entirety of the campus, there's tunnels.
Oh yeah, I mean,
There's
There's
tunnels.
a few
There's
buildings.
tunnels connecting just about everything.
Every-
Yeah,
everything.
there's a few buildings that aren't connected, but like Yeah, you go. There's literally like an underground tunnel network connecting all this stuff together, so you don't have to go outside. Because
Yeah.
it's Pennsylvania. It's a pretty cool place, like cold temperature.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's
Nothing
crazy.
against the coolness
Yeah.
of Pennsylvania,
I mean-
as far as being nifty, but I'm sure it's nifty also. But
I mean, like we live in Canada. It's freezing here like 8 months
Yeah,
a year.
It gets pretty cold.
Like
Yeah.
it's always. Why do we live in a place where the wind hurts our
Dude,
face?
I ask myself that all the time.
every
All
winter. I go,
the time.
what in the fuck are we thinking?
But then I realized that I have a job, and I'm like,
Nice.
it's
oh,
nice
yeah.
to have a job. It's also nice to have the the fact that we have a river running through our city and all
Yes.
kinds of. If you want to get real into doomsday stuff, it's probably nice to be up north.
Oh, it is
Yeah,
actually. Yeah,
really.
It's so nice to have all those lakes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That said, our entire province has been on fire
It has
the
been.
entire year. And
I give it 10 years, and that river's just gonna be gone.
I don't know about that because I'm no scientist, but looking up at the sky and seeing it gray all the time, it's very ominous. It's
Yeah,
not
it is.
great.
It is a little
Looking
bit.
forward to things cooling off and the fires
little
going away.
Silent hilly here.
Yeah, oh, it totally is. Speaking, okay, this is totally just off topic, but did you guys see the videos of people escaping the wildfires in Greece?
No.
Did you see this? Oh my god. It's like something out of War of the Worlds. The roads, the entire road network was shut down because the entire province was on fire and people were leaving on ferries. There's videos of people on these ferries. It straight up looks like War of the Worlds, and you expect to see this like robot coming over the hills. The entire
like blasting a laser and stuff.
basically, yeah.
But
like,
it's just nature eviscerating itself.
But like the entire, the camera pans around and the entire place is just on fire, and they're on this
Jeez.
boat leaving.
You know what? I think this is a good tale that we've had it too good for too long, and now everything's on fire.
Well, people just don't take it seriously.
No, they don't.
This is the global warming podcast,
Yeah,
folks.
yeah.
Whether you're in or against that particular thing, comment down.
Yeah, let us
don't
know.
comment about that. That's not what we're doing here.
We are not talking about global warming.
Yeah, sorry,
today.
I didn't mean to derail the whole podcast. I just
Simon's trying to say is this is of particular interest to us because there are about to be a whole lot more ghosts.
yes, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Now that's
That
a
is-
very dark thing to
This
say.
is absolutely where I was
Accurate but dark.
going with that. Yeah.
If you believe in ghosts.
Okay, so let's get back to the subject at hand here before I rudely derailed the podcast.
No,
no,
that
no,
wasn't
no.
rude at all. We love
No.
it. This is we love derailments. That's the point of this. We want to be all over the place. There are a lot of very serious paranormal investigation and I guess interest podcasts and media and all sorts of stuff like that. This is not one of them.
No,
We are ridiculous.
We are having fun here.
and we love it.
We're definitely having fun and
Yeah.
we do love it. But anyway,
Sometimes we play
we do
a little
play.
too much,
Yeah.
but that's okay.
Yep.
But back to Pennhurst. So in 1968, an NBC 10 Philadelphia reporter named Bill Baldini did an expose on it because by this point the facility had been open for like
Many years.
since 1908,
Yeah, and then what year did you do this again?
1968.
Okay, so it'd been open for a solid like 50, 60 years almost.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it had been a very, very long period by this point, and like the things that he saw, and there, like he mentioned, like in the past, the things that had been done to people prior to
Yeah.
institutions like this, as far as like people that weren't understood and had mental illnesses and stuff like that, would include segregation and sterilization, just
Yeah.
horrific stuff like that.
And it is important to look at this through the lens of the time. In 1908, when this facility was opened, it wasn't uncommon for people who they called the undesirables of society to be rounded up, grouped, and sold.
Yeah.
Do you imagine that? Like your son is born with a disability. Well, they'll sell him to someone who's gonna put him to work for something.
Somehow or another exploit.
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
person.
So keep in mind, we're looking at this through the lens of modern society, and we know more about mental health, and we know more about how people should be treated, and arguably they should have known that these things were wrong.
Well,
like that never should have happened.
And even at the time in the facility, they were working. Like
Yeah,
had all
there
these
were
people
all
working.
kinds of things.
Yeah.
Like they were being used for free labor
Oh,
and
for
all
sure.
that sort of stuff.
I mean, not to make this, not to meander too much like the prison society now. It's the same way, only with prisoners,
Yeah.
not the mentally ill,
which is also not right.
which is not okay.
Yeah. But this like Pennhurst was such a big facility and had so many people in it, and they had such a little amount of funding that a lot of the ground maintenance and building maintenance was done by the inmates, I guess.
Absolutely.
And
And the thing about the Here I go saying the thing about it is.
Ooh.
Good God. Oh, man.
I'm rubbing
off on me.
I'm rubbing off.
I was just going to say, the thing about the inmates is, at Pennhurst in particular, I think by the time this documentary was done, the median age, or the average age, I don't know, median and average are two very different things, but in any case, I think it was the average age of patients who were there was 36, but what they called everybody who was in this facility was children. Yes. They called all of the people, regardless of age, children. A big thing, like a gigantic part of this facility was, unfortunately, like it's worth noting that at the time when Bill Baldini came in and did this, the people that were staffed there, as far as professionals go, and not counting like orderlies and nurses and stuff like that, were 9 doctors, 2 psychiatrists. These are the full-time staff also. Yeah. And I think 11 teachers with no specialized special ed training.
And this is for thousands of
people.
This
was for 2,800 patients.
So that tells you right away that this facility is not about treatment. It's about getting rid of society's undesirables.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's about tucking them away and hiding them.
And that's absolutely what happened. And people were happy with that. Like at the time,
because it was out of sight, out of mind.
Exactly.
And this documentary is kind of what changed that. Because when Bill Baldini went through, they really carefully shot this to kind of exclude people's faces, but some of the things pictured in the documentary were people in restraints, people in cages, cribs, and beds, all confined, like adults in what would be considered a crib.
Yeah.
All of them like kind of tied up, many of them tied up anyway, and there are like shots of fly strips that are absolutely loaded. Yeah. Like there's not a single other fly that could be on it.
It is important to note that there were people there with severe disabilities, and some of the residents would get very easily overwhelmed, as you would in a place like this.
They still use restraints today sometimes for certain things.
Yeah, for some of the patients, there were reports of patients getting overwhelmed and running headfirst into the wall because they didn't know how to deal with any of these things, and they had mental disabilities. So for some of these inmates or patients, I suppose, for some of these people, the restraints were necessary, but they were restraining people who didn't need to be restrained. No. They were like, just because it was easier than dealing with them. It was a crime of
convenience.
Yeah, like there were, they would lock these, children, they called them, in. Some of them were locked in cages for days at a time, and just sitting there in their own excrement. Like,
every single shot in this documentary, the rooms are just absolutely loaded with people, and you can see too, many of them all have their heads shaved and stuff like that. Like there was just they were really going for whatever was going to provide the least maintenance they could possibly do in every single aspect. One of the crazy things about Suffer the Little Children, which was obviously came out in 1968, and it was a 5-part kind of expose, which would be like, I would assume something like maybe a 2020 in the States or a W5 here, something like that.
Yeah, something like that, yep.
A news segment thing that took place over 5 days. One of the people that was actually interviewed in this documentary was a doctor. Get this, his name was Dr. Jesse Fear.
Wow.
That is...
What a name.
That is quite the name.
That's a hard sell, honestly.
Are you vaping on the podcast right now, boy? As if you got vape coming out of your mouth.
I would never.
Nut. You absolute
I would
nut.
never. There is nothing in there. This is just ghostly vapors escaping my body.
You think this is a joke,
I'm haunted
bro?
right now.
Brett's been making out with a ghost.
Brett's spirit is coming out of his body right now.
It's trying to escape.
It's trying to make it into the doll back here.
Oh, man.
Yeah, watch this gorgeous doll to see if its eyes start blinking and Brett maybe goes a little bit...
Yeah, if I get a little comatose in the podcast,
just lifeless,
just know I've astral projected myself into the doll.
Speaking of going comatose, is there caffeine in this cola?
Man, I have no idea.
There's sugar, that's for sure.
I think there might be.
You think so?
I can feel it.
We're getting a little wacky.
Unless I just chugged my coffee. Oh, dude.
No, there's caffeine.
Oh, my God. No wonder. I'd feel like I'm just buzzing right now. Like
we're sodaed up.
Like folks. I was pretty sleepy this morning, so I grabbed a McDonald's iced coffee on the way over here, and I have a tendency of drinking liquids too fast, which is why
same problem.
I'm very careful with alcohol these days because it can end badly. But I chugged this coffee on the way over here, and I was just buzzing, and now I'm drinking this caffeinated cola, and I'm just like.
Yeah, no.
So if I just fall over, that is why.
At the beginning, I was very sleepy, but now I am wide awake.
We're fired up, folks. Anyway, back into Dr. Jesse Fear.
Yeah, what a name! Oh my God,
what a great name!
Absolutely bonkers. But one of the things Bill asked him, you'd see my hands are shaking. Yeah.
We're not on stimulants. It's just caffeine. I
Technically,
promise.
we are.
We're just fired up on soda, is all. But Dr. Jesse Fear was asked like how he would handle patients with behavior problems, and there were all kinds of horrible things that had been done. And he made some note about how at one point he'd injected a patient with the most painful compound that could be used without causing lasting damage.
Yeah, so what happened with that was there was a patient that was notoriously bullying other patients, and they couldn't get him to stop. And so Dr. Jesse Fear went to one of his colleagues and asked him what the most painful thing that he could inject this person with without causing any sort of permanent or physical damage. And then he did it. He just restrained him to a bed and injected him with, I don't know what it was, but I'm just going to say it was some sort of torturous chemical. Could you imagine? It would feel like your veins were burning
absolutely
from the inside.
Unacceptable treatment.
Yeah, completely wrong.
And the thing about it is like that was just one case.
Yeah,
there's multiple cases.
Yeah, there were reports of them like making inmates fight each other.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man. There were club action.
Yeah, literal Fight Club action. I bet you they were taking bets.
I think nearing the end of this place, when they closed it, there were like 9 employees or something that were actually charged with all kinds of inhumane acts.
As they should have been.
Well, they did a lot of experimentation, like without the consent of the patient, obviously.
Yes, absolutely.
And I mean, especially if someone is mentally ill or mentally deficient, you can't get consent from them.
So a lot of sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say a lot of the things that I read about this reminded me of I believe it was Joseph Goebbels' experiments in World War II.
Yeah.
Arguably, maybe not quite as bad, but like still something
Pennhurst
that you would...
wasn't a concentration camp, but it was. This was like. Yeah, not quite as horrific as that, but it wasn't historically
like
awful.
they weren't just murdering people left and right, but at the same time, this was a place that, like, especially like this changed later on when this this documentary series was done, but especially at the beginning, the people in the town liked that this was out of sight, out of mind. They intentionally sent people here because they didn't want them to be part of their society. It was its own little functioning city, and it did not interact with surrounding towns.
It had a rail system in it.
Yeah, it had. They literally could bring boxcars right up and unload them in there. They weren't reliant on any sort of outside support. They farmed their own vegetables.
They had their own huge commercial kitchen.
They had their own power plant. They had their own water supply system. So this place was intentionally created to house, society's undesirables, and at the time in 1908, that's how people liked it. So it's important to point that out.
And a whole lot forward, probably, arguably up until probably this 1968 documentary, this was something that would have been just. It's not that it was considered acceptable; it's just that it wasn't considered at all.
It was exactly. It was
nobody cared because
exactly.
Nobody wasn't thought
exactly. So when it was built, that was the norm. Is that they wanted a place to just house these people, and as the years went by, that sentiment changed. But people didn't know about this because it was so isolated that even the people who lived nearby did not know about what was going on there. Yeah. And it wasn't until this filmmaker here went in there and exposed all this stuff, and at that point on, it was doomed. From that moment, when that documentary series was released and people saw what was happening, it was always going to be shut down.
It lasted until 1987.
I believe it took 20 or 30 years for this to happen, but it was a very drawn-out litigation process.
Right.
Many lawsuits were done. It progressed through the courts, higher and higher courts, and eventually it was shut down. But I believe that once that documentary series came out, it was. The Vietnam War was happening around that time, and public perception of what was acceptable and what was not acceptable,
and what was acceptable to
changing.
take from the government.
Absolutely, and it's important to note that the people who started this institution did not intend for it to end the way it did. Like I said earlier, they did have good intentions. This was designed as a treatment center for people who needed it.
This is something my dad always says to me: the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
Absolutely. And this place,
this is a perfect example.
It is a perfect example. This place for sure was.
Gary dropping knowledge.
Yeah,
that's good knowledge.
So it started off as it was supposed to be a treatment center, but this was a state-run facility. And they were very underfunded, sometimes to the tune of millions of dollars per year. And how do you make up a $3 million budget shortfall? That is a huge amount of money.
It is crazy.
Especially in a time like 1950, $3 million.
That's nuts.
That's a huge amount of money. What would that be, like $30 million today? Like how do you make up a deficiency of $30 million in your budget?
That is bonkers.
And so these people were completely not taken care of properly. And And they didn't have a choice in the patients they took. Because it was a state-run facility, the state would just tell them, hey, you're taking these people, and they would have to say yes.
Those budgetary concerns didn't even begin in the 50s. Like, from the time that it opened in 1908 until 1912, the facilities already required $25,000 worth of repairs in that period. And I think I don't know what the inflation is for $25,000 in 1912.
I'm not sure either.
I would imagine that's a pretty hefty amount of money.
That would be
it's not going to be a small amount.
No,
that's for sure.
That's going to be in the hundreds of thousands for sure.
Probably. Yeah, something awful. Like,
but I feel like the facility must not have been built that well, because I was hearing reports of these, they call them crumbling facilities, basically like right from the get-go.
Yeah.
Like what was happening there? But if you look at the pictures, it was a pretty beautiful building, actually. It was all red brick.
Yeah.
And it was nice. The grounds were very nice. Like it looked nice.
I mean, when you have free labor doing all your jobs, then obviously it's going to look a little nice.
No kidding.
Because, I mean, what else are they going to have them do all day?
Yeah.
Right? So
before we go right into the ghostly activity, I just wanted to mention one other really frightening thing that this Dr. Jesse Fear guy said on the documentary.
Sure.
Because this struck me as being just a particularly horrific thing to do. He was talking about patients with kind of like attention issues, like ADHD, and I'm one of those fellas. I've been known to leave a wallet places every once in a while. I'm a little bit silly. I've been diagnosed with that. I've got ADHD, so I could potentially be somebody who, if I was like too much of a wingnut as a little kid, I could have been bouncing off the walls in the classroom, and they could have said, "Hey, take this guy and put this super ball of a human in here.
Yeah.
Let's deal with him in here." But he said that they would put hyperactive and autistic children on a floor if they were acting out.
Yeah.
They would put hyperactive and autistic children on a floor with what they had historically called low-grade patients. So these patients were patients with severe intellectual disabilities, and the reason that they did this was to offend their dignity, and that's a direct quote.
Oh my God.
Stripping them of their dignity was a regular and like a common occurrence. That's what they did, and the aim was just to like lower a patient's social status amongst their peers so that they would get made fun of.
Oh my God.
And like for that reason, like it was just social engineering. They would do that so that it would make people less likely to step out of line. Like at the time when this documentary came out, once they started because this documentary, I guess whether you want to call it like an expose or a documentary, when this came out, people started kind of looking into it a whole heck of a lot more, and what they started to notice was that a lot of patients who had gone in there with a certain level of like verbal communication or cognitive abilities had gone in there at a higher level. And what they were displaying at the time when people had gone in and done, kind of an audit of the place was that those people had lost a lot of those cognitive abilities. Yeah. They were much less verbally communicative, and it was just considerably worse.
Yeah, I'd heard that as well, that people who were, relatively healthy were coming out of it not healthy at all.
Well, and I mean, not to mention, how many people do you think passed away there?
Oh,
that was their final resting place.
For sure.
I guarantee.
Quite a few.
Like with all that abuse and all that stuff.
Well, what was the tagline? They lived here, they died here, and they're still here.
Yeah. That's the tagline of whose tagline is that? Is that the tagline of the people who currently own it?
The Pennhurst Paranormal Association.
Okay.
Yeah. Which I think is it's an interesting tagline for sure. It kind of makes sense. Like a lot of people would have died there, and they would have not had pleasant lives.
No, for sure. Well, and here's a common theme that we've talked about through every single podcast, and I'm going to bring it up a million times till I'm blue in the face.
Mm-hmm.
When you have a building that has experienced tremendous trauma, when you have an area that's experienced tremendous trauma, of course there's still going to be that energy left over.
Residual energy.
So whether or not that's an echo of the past,
like a residual haunting.
Like a memory, like a residual
haunting. Or stone
haunting.
Tape theory, as we talked about previously.
Straight up, I thought you were going to say echo of the force, and I was like, yes.
I mean, or whether it's an actual haunting.
Yeah.
Who's to say? I mean, there are instances of both.
Yep.
So that's very much
intelligent and residual hauntings.
Yes, there's intelligent and residual there.
It's also worth noting that the haunted buildings that we've talked about in the past have been home to maybe one or two horrific acts.
Yeah.
This is
just
like concentrated
massive
suffering.
It's a melting vortex of just human suffering.
Dark energy.
Yeah.
Just man, I couldn't imagine. And you gotta have a little bit of empathy for what the hell was going on. Not just for the people living there, but the people that were working there who had the best intentions.
Yeah, could you imagine you get a you go?
You're like, I can finally help people.
Yeah, and then you get shoved into this, and you're one of the 8 doctors for 3,000 people. Like, what are you gonna do?
You're just overwhelmed, under budget, and like.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think a lot of those people just snapped.
You could find yourself becoming breaking the Hippocratic Oath and becoming.
Yeah.
So I think, is that the doctor one, or is that lawyers?
It is the Hippocratic Oath. Yeah,
I don't know.
I can easily imagine someone going in there with the best intentions and just getting fed up and overworked and stressed and just saying, screw it, it's easier to just be one of them.
And suddenly you find yourself becoming a monster, injecting somebody with this compound that will make them suffer but not hurt them in the long
permanently damage them, but make them feel like
only permanently mentally damaged.
That
would be scarring.
The problem I have with that whole story is like, dude, what the fuck are you thinking?
Why would you do that?
Yeah, I'm also not saying that all people, if put in this situation, would get to that point.
No,
that's a very specific thing.
That seems like a very twisted individual to begin with.
I feel like
that's not something that a normal human would think about, even if they were set in the situation that they were.
I don't think you know what people become until they're put in those situations. You could like, when pushed to their limit, people will do extraordinary and cruel things.
Absolutely. There's been very, very interesting studies about this. I think we might have talked about it in one of the other episodes where they were having just regular American citizens do electroshock therapy on other people. And
I've seen the video.
And they would tell them, like, no, you got to keep doing it, even after the person on the other side stopped responding. And when you have like an authority figure telling you to do something, it sort of removes that burden of responsibility, and it makes it much easier for you to commit atrocities.
The amount of people that said no compared to the people that just kept going.
Yeah, most people kept going.
People kept going.
And it's important to know that these were just normal people, like not anyone who's involved with the medical field.
It's also very important to note that on the other side were actors. They were not actually being shocked.
They weren't. But
so no one was harmed. But
see, you guys know all about this. This isn't something I looked into. I thought we were going to get into like the Stanford prison experiment or something like that.
That's the same.
That falls into a similar phenomenon.
Yeah. Whereas you give people power, they're going to abuse that power a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Especially if their senior is already abusing power, and they look at that and go, oh, well.
You need to have positive role models. Yeah. If you don't.
Exactly.
There's what's the saying? Absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
It seems like it's almost impossible to avoid that. I think it is possible. I think there are notable historical figures who have not done that. Like George Washington is a perfect example of the person who formed an entire nation and then hung up his power, handed it off to the next person.
Did he not own slaves and stuff like that as well? Though?
Oh, absolutely.
We're not saying that he was a great guy.
I'm not saying he was perfect.
You're not saying he was a perfect individual?
No, not at all.
No.
But if at the same time, like I think it was King George. I'm probably wrong.
This one's all you, buddy.
I believe it was King George in England at the time. Literally laughed at him at the idea that he was going to run for election and then cede that power. Like nobody,
was just such a bonkers
it was such
idea
a radical idea. Like democracy was such a new radical thing. Nobody thought that he was going to. Everyone thought that he was this titan who had formed an entire nation,
and he'd become like the Holy American Emperor, like the Holy Roman Emperor.
Exactly. Everyone thought that's what was going to happen, and then he passed the torch to the next person, and the world was flabbergasted. Like no one had ever seen anything like this, and it really became a beacon of what to do, of how to govern a nation. And I'm not saying he was perfect. I'm just saying that there are some historical,
there's outliers.
Yeah, there are some historical figures who have who have done great things and then handed the torch.
For sure.
Like Gandhi was definitely not perfect. He was
there's a list of bad things
we could get into all kinds of wild stuff about all these dudes, but should we get into the hauntings of Pennhurst?
I think
we should. Yeah, we absolutely should.
All right.
Sorry, I'm derailing the podcast.
Oh, no.
Man, that's the point. This is like we're supposed to do this. We're supposed to go all over the place.
Yeah,
anybody who's listened to the first 7 episodes prior to this is already aware that this is par for the course.
Exactly. You're going to expect at least 5 or 6 tangents.
So if this is episode number 1 for you, we hope you're enjoying it, but expect to get like a bunch of like fragmented tidbits from just about anything that could possibly interest us. This isn't going to be this isn't a straight road. We're going all over the place. We're going the scenic route, dude.
Yep. So just before we get into hauntings, Spencer, you watched the documentary series Suffer Little Children, did you not?
I would like to say that I watched all of it. I watched the first 3 parts.
That's fine. I couldn't bring myself to do it. I looked at the descriptions of it and I saw some pictures and I was like, you know what? I don't think I
It's worth noting that I think that people should go and check this out. It's on YouTube. If you YouTube Suffer the Little Children, you will find it. But something that I want to note before anybody actually checks it out, take it, we've talked a lot about like history and the way that things have been different, and how different terminology has been used at the time. When this was produced in 68, it really was a different time for language, especially for the people with mental, physical, and cognitive disabilities. Basically, all of that is summed up by using the R word consistently throughout this whole thing. So if you're going to watch this, just please be aware of the fact that
language has changed a lot.
It has. And this one, if you're not prepared for that, might be a little bit of a challenge for some people.
Yeah.
So they had the best intentions, but the terminology they used is not, it's not up to modern standards at all.
And we kind of figured that it would be, but just again, a big warning, like if something like that will set you off,
maybe
skip that one.
But also, having said that, this is a piece of history, and you got to look at it that way. And things were very different that time.
Yes.
And the fellow who made this had absolutely the best intentions.
Yes.
And he would have been considered very progressive for his time.
Absolutely.
And and the results that came out of this documentary series changed the whole world, I think, actually.
Yeah.
So,
well, it changed how people with these disabilities were treated.
Yep, and it changed it. This documentary series led to the lawsuits against this place. There's one called the Halderman case where they the man suffered over 40 injuries.
I think that was a lady.
Carrie was it a lady? Okay,
was it Carrie? Oh, we better check that.
Terry Lee Halderman.
Yeah, that's why I could see why you would get confused.
But it was actually a woman.
We all had chunks of that one.
Yeah. But anyways, so
Terry Lee Halderman.
These cases led to a wholesale change of how institutions were viewed and how they were set up, and it led to the closure of many of these horrific institutions,
including Pennhurst
itself.
Yes. Yeah. What year was there? There was a court judgment one year.
Well, they filed the class action lawsuit in 1974, and it took a while for this to happen. Like it went through various different courts. And I don't know exactly when it was, but I believe... I
think it was years previous anyway. There was a judgment made that this place was to be closed, and then they would... But they gave them a window to go through the deinstitutionalization process.
Which took 9 years. It
took
9 years to deinstitutionalize.
Okay, so we could probably math that out. 1987 to... when was that judgment made? Who does math?
When was the judgment made?
Would that have been? I guess that would have been what, 88?
Yeah,
that would have been, or no, 78. Sorry, that would have been 1978.
Yeah, and then
check that if you're gonna, as we've said many times before, don't source this for any sort of papers or anything like that. But hey, if you want to know the exact date, check that Wikipedia, folks.
Yeah.
Wikipedia is a beautiful tool, and we love it very much.
And it looks like 1987 is, I believe, when it was...
It was finally closed.
I think.
Yes, that is. It was closed on December 9th, 1987, after 79 years of operation.
I was a little confused because in 1983 is when those 9 employees were indicted.
Indicted.
Indicted. Yeah.
Sorry. That would have been when the judgment was made.
The court system does take a while.
Yeah, and it does take a while. And it's important to note that when they were doing this deinstitutionalization. That's the word. I'm not even going to try it. They, one of the reasons why it took so long is they were developing individual treatment plans for all these people, which should have been done in the first place.
Yeah.
And they had to find them, new accommodations. And it's important to note that these people went from a situation that was just horrific into a much better place. Like they were put into homes with maybe 3 or 4 other people, and they had much more specialized care.
Right.
They had much more attentive care from, the percentage of doctors to patients went up much, much higher. So it was a good thing that this happened, but it did take 9 years to shut this down.
Yeah.
Yeah, it took a long time.
Let's get into some ghosts.
Yeah,
we've really gone. This has been a really history-heavy episode. We could keep going on forever.
But in order to explain the context of the hauntings, we really did need to get into the history of this as well, because it is such a.
It's heavy stuff. Yeah.
It's a heavy topic.
Yeah, it is. It's important to show it respect. So there's been quite a few, hauntings and reports of some freaky stuff happening all over this place.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Things like being pushed, hearing laughter and crying. I've heard disembodied voices,
feeling injections.
Oh, I didn't hear that one.
Yeah,
Oh
there's some notable ghosts at Pennhurst, and one of them apparently is supposedly an angry nurse, somebody who obviously would without any actual empirical proof, but a figure who hypothetically was a disgruntled nurse who's going around injecting people. That's, I guess, a common sensation. People feeling an injection in their neck.
God damn. I think that might be
frightening.
That might be the single worst ghost I could imagine.
Yeah.
Like just a ghost who goes around injecting you with God knows what.
Apparently it hurts. You can feel it going in.
Oh,
that's upsetting.
Maybe that's Dr. Jesse making his way around there, because presumably he's not still kicking around.
No,
He's an old fellow by 68, so I'm going to assume he's gone now.
Yeah, that's probably for the best.
There's other things too, like doors slamming in your face, that kind of stuff.
Medical tools being moved around. Yeah.
Like, I would say that this entire campus is probably haunted.
Oh, for sure.
If we're going to
place were to be haunted, this would be the one.
This would be the one where I know the tours go from 7 p.m. till 3 in the morning. Obviously, the witching hour.
Right.
Obviously,
the witching hour for all of those people who have listened to all the other episodes and know I'm a nutcase. The witching hour. So the most
paranormally active hour
time of the day.
Any day.
It's 3 in the morning.
Yep.
For whatever reason. Usually anytime after midnight it gets a little spooky. Doesn't matter if it's haunted or not.
Yeah, I feel like 3 a.m. is like the deepest part of the night.
For sure.
Yeah.
It's definitely the darkest.
Yeah.
It's definitely the creepiest, even in the summertime.
Yeah.
Around 4 is where it starts to lighten up a little bit.
Yeah.
But 3 in the morning is no good. It's some junk.
Yeah.
I mean, we should seriously go to that Pioneer Cemetery at 3 in the morning and see what happens.
I think we should. We're going to, just to know, we're definitely going to be checking out. Stay tuned. We're going to be checking out the Pioneer Cemetery very soon. I have some big plans for that, but we won't go too heavy into it right now. But there are some notable ghosts at Pennhurst.
Yeah.
There is a child ghost named Howie who, legend has it, owns all of the toys throughout Pennhurst. They're because it is a haunted attraction, they have all kinds of goo-gaw throughout, whether that be medical stuff or whether that be, effects of personal effects of patients, whether they be actual personal effects that were left behind or ones that were brought in maybe to just decorate it like a set. But there are toys, children's toys, kind of scattered throughout the place, and there is one particular. I guess some of the sensations felt with Howie are like people tugging at pant legs, balls rolling around. That's been widely reported.
Wow.
Apparently, there's one particular Little Tykes airplane that's always somewhere throughout the facility that he takes particular offense to if somebody's to trifle with it.
Right.
Don't be touching the man's plane.
He doesn't like it.
He doesn't love it when people trifle with the plane.
You leave that plane be.
So there's that one. There's also as you love shadow figures.
Oh man,
there's been reports of shadow people all over this place.
Well, shadow people, pictures that you can't recreate as far as seeing shadow figures.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. The idea of shadow people to me scares the shit out of me more so than ghosts itself, because you can't make out a figure, right?
Yeah.
It's just a shadowy
it's a type of ghost anyway.
Yes, it is.
And there's one particularly notable shadow figure called, I think people call it Fisher, because somewhere in one of the dormitories there is a Fisher is scrawled on the wall, and somebody at some point decided that was the name of this particular one that has been, it's a male figure that stands tall and I guess kind of stares at people without any sort of features. And this one's been noted in plenty of pictures. People are at least attributing this phenomena to the name Fisher.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that's why I don't like shadow people very much, is it's just more ominous.
Yeah.
At least if you believe in ghosts and have seen ghosts and you can see figures, you can see the shape and
a full body
features.
Apparition.
Yeah, full body. If you can see features as human beings, that's a little bit more calming.
Yeah.
If you want to get into it,
People
a
are
little bit
scared
more
of
calming
people are scared of the unknown, right?
than a shadow just looming.
Yeah.
I mean, it's no good no matter what. Like when
Yeah.
we were talking about the Sally house, when the fella who lived there saw the allegedly saw the full body apparition of a little girl in his kitchen, and there was no little girl there.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd love that either. I don't think it would make a difference for me whether I saw features or not. I think I would hate that.
Both are junk, if I'm going to be honest. Both not a huge fan of. Like, but just the idea of, just the idea, say we decide to, well, we are, but film some haunted areas.
We definitely will be. Sooner
do
than
that.
later,
And
folks.
What's going to scare me the most is if we do pick up anything, is if we don't see it off the initial,
yeah.
and then I'm going back and editing and go,
And there's
boys,
just a ghost hovering behind Brett, just staring down
just
at him.
looming over me.
Oh boy.
I'm gonna be ticked. I'm not gonna be pleased. And you guys are gonna get an immediate screenshot in our group chat. And be
Yes.
like, boys, we got it.
Boys. I think we got some evidence.
Oh boy.
On the note of Sally, though,
At that point, though, you guys are gonna have to believe me if I'm catching like
man,
full
who's to
body
say?
apparitions.
Maybe
and
you
shit.
got really, really good at After Effects, and
Yeah,
I'm just
maybe.
trying to pull the wool over our eyes.
Man,
I don't know.
I could see it.
I've sent you a few fake ones.
Yeah,
That
whether
are very
on purpose
funny.
or not.
Yeah.
No, these ones were on purpose that I've sent you. Just look
Gotcha.
at this. This is shoddy afterworks effects.
Yep, that's definitely happened.
But on the note of Sally, there are noted little girl ghosts also running around this place. Lots
Yeah.
of disembodied voices and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Lots of you can hear the pitter patter of children. Sometimes some laughter. Sometimes some screaming.
And the thing about children ghosts is that's particularly notable that we kind of learned about in the Sally House episode was just the fact that a lot of times if you were to get into demonology and all that sort of stuff, demons allegedly present
Yeah.
themselves as children
Yes,
quite
they
often.
do. And people have reported the feeling of a demonic presence.
Yeah,
in-
my theory is personally, because if you believe in demons, all that stuff, well, what's a demon gonna feed off?
suffering.
Negative energy, suffering,
Yeah.
terrible things, right?
Yep.
It's not a happy place. So it wouldn't surprise me if we got one or two of those boys kicking around.
And also looking at the walls in the basement and all over
Yeah.
this place, there are pentagrams and alleged, remnants of satanic rites that have been performed there.
Yeah.
People have definitely, if you're one of those spooky people who's into creating an altar and getting into all this, satanic goo-ga, where are you gonna go? What's a better place to go than a place like
There's
this?
no better place to go than Pennhurst Asylum.
People have been playing a little bit too much.
Yeah, they do, because apparently, some mediums and psychics have gone there, and they do say that they feel a demonic presence in one of the basements.
Oh yeah,
which is no good. That's not good.
From my understanding, there's a ghost in one of the tunnels, and it's behind a metal door, and the door is locked.
Okay.
You can't get into the building.
It's
but
probably for the best.
well, it's locked, and then there's plywood over top of it.
They really don't want people going in
Yeah,
there.
yeah. So, and they said if you're disrespectful in front of it,
He'll be mad.
he'll be mad at
Oh,
you.
boy.
And I've watched a few ghost hunts, whether or not you want to believe them or not. They have their spirit box, and they're asking it questions, and it's a man, right?
Yeah.
And it's not a happy one.
Yeah.
They think it's like a caretaker or something
Okay.
along
Oh
those
yeah,
lines.
I did hear about that. There's the ghost of a caretaker
and he's not overly fond of women,
there. Oh.
so he'll fuck with them
He's
first.
a misogynistic ghost.
Oh, boy.
Even better.
One of those 1908 misogynist
Yeah.
ghosts is my
Yeah.
favorite.
Yeah. I mean, ghosts are bad enough, but a misogynistic ghost.
Oh,
No, we don't like hate. We don't like hate ghosts. We're coming out hard against hateful
Yeah.
ghosts.
We like our progressive ghosts.
you know what? Take this as gospel. If you're a hateful ghost, don't listen to the podcast.
You're on notice, dude.
There's also been reports of I think we already said disembodied voices, but people have supposedly recorded these.
Yeah.
Hearing things like hearing "get out" and "why won't you leave" and just terrifying things.
EVP is highly suspect.
Yeah, it is
To
for
begin
sure.
with, but there. If you were to if I were to go somewhere and I were to use a tape recorder or a digital recorder and I played it back, and I was looking to hear something, I would be much more likely to hear something. But if
Yeah.
I did hear something that resembled "Get Out,"
I would be
Yeah.
leaving.
I would
immediately.
I'd be out.
I probably would
I'm
leave.
done.
Yeah.
Boys, I'm done.
There's also been electromagnetic field pulses throughout the buildings that don't have power. So
Yeah,
that's,
and
See, that's a weird one.
that's interesting. I mean, again, this is like your equipment could cause this.
But
also
you have to be, in order for that to pick up, you have to be so close to it with the equipment in order for it to. So what a lot of these guys do is they have like a bear or something that is a detector, and it'll like light up when there's something, and they'll set it
field monitor.
Yeah, they'll set it down and then they'll back away from it so their equipment isn't going to get close enough to do anything.
Right.
So they usually do that, and then you'll see a lot of the times like the bear will light up or something like that.
Is that the term for those, or was that a brand?
It's just some brand that you can like buy online.
I'll be honest, I thought you meant like bear.
Yeah,
like a stuffed bear.
Like I've heard of
it is a stuffed bear. It is a literal stuffed bear with an.
Dude, you did not explain that.
Oh no, I'm sorry. And it's got a meter in it, like the normal.
Why would they do that? Just to like make child ghosts more likely to fuck with it?
I would say that would be
a very
good.
So it's an EMF detector built into a stuffed
teddy bear.
That sounds terrifying.
Yeah, and what happens is when a ghost goes near it, or a ghost, if you want to believe in ghosts, which I definitely do.
I mean, we're doing a ghost podcast,
yeah,
so
the hands will like light up and stuff. Like, so it's using the same technology as a standard reader.
Sure.
I've never seen this. I'm gonna have to look into it.
Look it up.
Have to look into this.
I need to find the link because I actually went on a website and you can buy them.
Yeah, was it in your shopping cart? Were you in the checkout? But you were looking for a coupon code. You didn't find one, so you're waiting until
my
one
Honey
pops
link
up.
did not help me at all.
God.
Honey didn't find a discount.
No, Honey didn't find a discount.
Damn. I hate it when Honey doesn't find a discount.
Let you down.
I need a damn ghost bear.
So before you told me about the injecting ghost, I was going to say, I think the worst thing that I would hear when I was there is you can hear the sounds of vomiting from empty rooms.
That would be very upsetting.
That would just be terrible. But I think the mean ghost injector.
I mean, being
person
injected,
would be worse.
not great. If I'm hearing
Not
people
great.
vomit, also not great. Might make me feel a little queasy.
Yeah, but at least like you're not getting injected with God knows what.
Yeah, with ghost fluid.
Yeah, some ectoplasm in your blood.
I hate ghost fluids. If there's one thing I don't like is ghost fluids.
Oh God.
Another thing that's been detected or noted by people in some of these more derelict buildings where there's no water or power is like the sounds of toilets flushing and water flowing and all that sort of stuff, which kind of, falls into the same category as like EMF stuff. But like a lot of what we're talking about right now is stuff that is detected with ghost hunting tools.
Sure.
Apparently, the facility presently, like along with their ghost, you can do like guided ghost hunts, or I'm not exactly sure what everything you can do is, but they will allow people to come there and they will provide ghost hunting equipment like an EMF meter,
Right, yes.
or what else do we have? Spirit boxes and all that kind of stuff. So they're really leaning in. They'll allow you to come in with your own stuff. What are those called? Vector cameras?
Yeah, the vector cameras.
Are they called a vector camera, or is there another name?
I think that's the name where they pick up the outline of.
I feel like there's another
people.
name for it.
I can't remember the name.
Who knows?
But yeah, they essentially make. So say you're standing in front of the camera, it'll make a stick figure of your shape.
An outline, yeah.
So
picking up movement, right?
Yeah, it's picking up movement. So what they'll often do is they'll set up that camera as a static camera, and then if a place is very haunted, if there's ghosts and stuff, the human eye may not be able to pick it up, but it's picking up like movement.
Sure.
And like a lot of the time, it's human-shaped movement. That's why it's so freaky to look at, because you're like, oh shit, like what could that possibly be? Like, could it just be a glitch? Very, very likely.
It's just Brett fucking with you.
Yeah.
Just dancing in front of the camera.
The worst.
He's in a black morph suit at the end of end of a hallway, so people can't see him.
You know what?
This.
I think the worst thing though is the heat monitor cameras.
Oh, yeah, like infrared.
Yeah, if you have an infrared camera and you just see something light up, or if you see like a cold spot, like a cold spot in the shape of a human, like, all right, I'm out.
Yeah,
I'm out.
Cold spot are like a phantom worm spot where no one is.
Yeah, that's also very like.
Yeah.
There isn't really the one thing about paranormal stuff is there's not a whole lot of consistency.
No,
there are some things that kind of carry across everything, but like the big thing to remember when getting into paranormal phenomena and investigation is that it can come in any form.
It can, absolutely.
Yes.
Whether you and some of it's more convincing than other stuff.
Yeah. There's been a few things in the history of this podcast that have been a bit more convincing than I expected. Also, a few things that were not convincing at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is one where we don't have a tremendous, like, did any of us see a tremendous amount of actual evidence? I didn't watch. I know there are all kinds of ghost hunts that have taken place and have been televised.
I've watched one, and it was about an hour long. It was YouTube, so obviously take that with a grain of salt. They might be just...
Well, anybody could be. I mean, like, you could... do you think Zach Baggins of Ghost Adventures is... do you think everything that they're doing on that show is above board?
Who's to say? I'm not one to disparage a man's name.
Yeah, I shouldn't be crapping on him. But they did an episode there, too. I didn't watch it. But
the episode that I watched, that door I was telling you about, that supposedly has like a very not so nice ghost.
Sure.
They did get like cold coming from the door, which could just be a draft.
Yeah.
Realistically, cold from there, and then also spirit box hearing like a man talk. And then as well as like knocking, like because one of the guys said, "I'm gonna go in the tunnel by myself." In the dark with just like a night vision camera, and see what I get. And he got some knocking and weirdness.
Now that could be created by just about anything.
Yeah,
this
exactly.
is probably a steam heated building, so knocking is a very common thing.
Yeah.
So, like I said, take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah,
I'm not 100% sure.
Or an entire bag of Sifto.
It's very
some
possible
good old
too.
Malden salt.
Yeah, absolutely.
But,
But I mean, like, if a place were to be haunted, this would be the place.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say that. Like, I haven't seen really any specific evidence for haunting for this, but like, it's a good candidate for it.
Would you want to be there late at night?
Not really.
No,
honestly,
me either.
Most old buildings I don't want to be around late at night.
Yeah, but this one specifically. Like,
well, just knowing the history of it.
Yeah.
Like,
the horror.
The thing you have to take into consideration with a lot of these things, say you went to a building and you had no idea that anything terrible took place there.
Yeah.
Are you going to experience supernatural phenomenon?
Who's to say?
Who knows?
I think at the very least, just walking into this place, I think you would
definitely
probably feel it. You would
something
probably
weird.
feel that it had some negative energy going on there. I don't know how to say this in a way that doesn't sound crackpot, but like I feel like you would pick up on it, you know?
Yeah.
It's like a intuition thing.
Like,
you know when something bad is about
like
to
the
happen.
hair in the back of your neck would stand up, and that's a very real thing. Like you get a gut feeling.
It's got that
something's
stone
wrong
tape
there.
theory thing going on,
Yeah.
where it's just like the building seems to have a memory.
Yeah.
And whatever that means, it might just be, it might be a survival instinct. It might be anything. There's some sort of strange, ethereal human intuition going on that's telling you this is a spooky place.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, the biggest takeaway from this, I think, as much as there was terrible things happening in this location, the biggest takeaway we can take from this is at least terrible things led to where mental health is today.
That's
and
true.
Treatment today.
Absolutely, and
it sucks that
Yes.
happened, and I feel terrible for the people that happened to.
Absolutely.
But at least we advanced further as a civilization because of the atrocities that happened, as far as like being documented and people realizing like what the hell is going on.
For sure.
We didn't know.
And that's kind of what I was talking about at the beginning of the show. We're saying that some positive came out of this. I compare it to the sinking of the Titanic. It was a terrible, terrible event, but it led to reformation that, and overall, had a positive effect.
And a great movie. So
we almost had a spit take there.
I took a big sip of Faygo there, and I was about to blast my microphone. And let me tell you, I don't need a sticky microphone.
no one wants a sticky mic, but I'm just saying.
So, like this, if you're listening to this, you should check out preservepennhurst.org. It's a great website that has a whole lot of information, both historical and about what this changed in the world. So that was, I went to that website and that gave me a new perspective on it. So this was overall, a pretty dark story, but it led to very positive changes. Basically every institution in America that operated like this was shut down as a consequence of the expose about Pennhurst and the lawsuits that came out about it, and the treatment of prisoners after that came to light, or not prisoners, but inmates.
The children.
The children,
yeah.
The treatment of the people who lived there, it was so bad that it led to worldwide changes in psychiatric care. It led to realizing that people need individual treatment plans, and it led to a huge development in mental health and what we know about it, and it led to when this opened, people were just classified as epileptic or not epileptic.
And epileptic, we now know to be one very specific condition.
Absolutely.
Epilepsy is a thing. When they were using the term epileptic, they did not necessarily mean epilepsy.
Absolutely not. They were referring to numerous different things, and they're just lumping them into these categories that people did not belong in. And so that was a good thing that came of this. Is the horrors that were wrought by this led to a lot of good things, actually.
Yeah, which, that's been a common theme throughout history.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
It seems like as humans, we tend to do things wrong, and that's how we learn. Yeah.
Oh boy, yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, so if you're listening to this, check out preservepennhurst.org. It has a lot of really cool information, and you might like it. You might be interested by it.
And if you're more interested in any of the ghostly stuff, or just I don't know where I'm going with this. I guess I'm telling people to check out other.
Keep listening to our podcast.
We're the only source of ghostly information. I don't know what I'm saying. I don't know about any other sources. We're
so good at ghost stuff that we meander 20 different times in a podcast.
Yes, exactly.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
But you know what? This is a good time to plug it. Check out our social media.
Yeah.
Our email address is @DoGhostsBeReal, or words are hard. I'm sorry, people. Our email is doghostsbereal@gmail.com.
Send us all your stories.
Yeah.
Send us anything you want to send us. We want to hear from you. We love you.
We
We love the listeners. We love each and every one of you. So let us know. Let us know if you enjoy the podcast. Let us know if you have your own spooky story. Let us know if you have something that you think that we should dig deeper into, and then dive off of cliffs at various points during the episode. But we will we'll definitely take that under advisement, because we're always looking for something new to check out.
You know what? And if you keep sending us stories, we're going to do ourselves a listener episode where we're going to talk about your stories. So please send us your stories.
Yep.
Any way you can get a hold of us. You can check us out on Instagram at do.ghosts.b.real.
I'm never not going to laugh at that.
It's very
I can't
funny.
fix it. It's ruined. I've submitted 4 tickets at this point,
Yeah.
and they won't do anything about it. And it's not that we have a massive following by this point. Hey, you know what? Go follow us. But I also don't want to start fresh, because it's kind of, we're deep enough where I think it would be not advisable to do that.
Yep.
And you know what? We also have a TikTok, which we are going to be posting clips on very soon.
Yeah, again, we're probably going to do that again at some point. It's been a minute, but we're going to be doing it.
We've been busy boys.
Yeah.
But what's the TikTok?
The TikTok is at the Do Ghosts Be Real podcast.
Cool.
Fantastic. Check us out on YouTube. Check us out on Shaw Spotlight TV on Channel 10 after Strip Down at 10 p.m. in Saskatoon, and nowhere else in the world on cable. But check it out there. This has been a fun one. It's been all over the damn road, but we've enjoyed it. And if you want to learn more about Pennhurst's ghostly stuff, what I was trying to say is it's everywhere. Just Google Pennhurst.
Yeah.
It's
You'll
very
find
widely.
some stories.
Yeah.
But you know what? Come back next week. We're going to be talking about the various hauntings and specific spooky things that go on in our lovely home province, Saskatoon. Well, Saskatchewan is the province. The city is Saskatoon.
Yes.
But we're going to be looking into that. So
Yeah, it's going to be a fun one.
So have yourself a beautiful day.
Yeah. Thanks for watching or listening.
We'll see you later.
See ya.